There is a weird organizing hack that nobody talks about. And I think it's really important. And whenever I look for organizing advice, and I think I've even said this myself, everyone says that you need to start with decluttering. Well, I want to challenge that because there is a little pre-step that I think we're all forgetting about that makes such a big difference. So when it comes to maintaining a decluttered, organized, and tidy home, there's a lot of things you need to do. I mean, most of us need to declutter. I mean, everyone has to declutter on some sort of a regular basis. We need to be tidying up and putting things away. We need to be organizing things. We need to be mindful of what's coming into our home. We need to set up systems. We need to stay on top of laundry. We need to cook. We need to clean. There's a lot of things to do. And, we can simplify as much as possible, and I highly recommend that. But even so, there's still a lot of things to do and a lot of things to think about. And this requires quite a bit of energy, both in terms of like physical energy, like literally getting up and doing things, but also mental energy, coming up with the system, deciding how you're going to do it, deciding what to keep and what to let go of. So it stands to reason that the number one thing that is going to make it easier and more likely that we'll stick with our decluttering and tidying efforts is having enough energy and taking care of ourselves. And a lot of times I think this is something that gets forgotten, and that's why I call it like the step before even decluttering. Because decluttering is wonderful. Please, yes, do that. But if you don't first make sure you're taking care of yourself, then you're gonna burn out quickly, and it's gonna be really hard to make sustained progress, especially in cases where you are here and you really wanna be way over there. So you want to transform and change. You need a lot of fortitude and reserves. So start there. Make sure you are thinking about how to take care of yourself. And by this, I don't necessarily mean like take long bubble baths, although if you want to do that, that's fantastic. But what I do mean is this. Now, I think for me, and I think this is true for most people, the number one domino, so the thing that starts it all either in the wrong or the right direction, not just for cleaning, organizing, keeping a tidy home, but all the other goals that I have, like being a good mom, being a good spouse, being all these things, the number one domino for me is sleep. Getting enough sleep, because if I am well rested, I am so much better able to manage everything else and make better, wiser decisions. When I'm exhausted, of course, making a decision about what paper to keep and what to let go of feels overwhelming. Just taking 5 minutes to tidy up, that requires so much energy. I'm so exhausted. Then I start to do other things that further deplete my energy because going out in the sun and taking a walk would be really helpful mentally, emotionally, physically, but I'm so tired. I really don't feel like doing that. And then often because I'm tired, I'm more tempted to grab snacks that don't really nourish me as much and leave me with as much energy. And it's just kind of a negative snowball. Whereas getting enough sleep is a positive snowball that helps me stay on top of things and have that kind of energy. And then it's not just sleep, but I personally think that's where a lot of us should start. And if you do the research, it is very much linked to a lot of health outcomes. And so I would not recommend that a long-term plan for getting your house in order involve just staying up late to fit it in. I think you need to take a serious look at your schedule and see what you might be able to take out in order to give yourself enough time to take care of yourself. And what I have realized is that if you have been operating for a long time without really prioritizing this, you do sometimes have to cut back because you're used to not taking that time and you're not building it into your schedule. So you need to build in the time to both take care of yourself and your home. For example, I tend to schedule things back to back to back to back, and I might have enough time for us to say eat dinner, but I'm not including time for us to clean up after dinner. And really and truly, I should be thinking of it as a unit. Like we need this time for dinner, and on a regular basis that should include the cleanup. Or I should be thinking when I get ready, that should include enough time for me to eat somewhat of a healthy breakfast instead of having just enough time to get out the door. So sometimes this requires a more fundamental shift. Number 2 would be regular meals. So when you are hungry, it's a little harder to function well. And sometimes I just get so busy, I barely take the time to eat regular meals. And sometimes I show up better for work or for other things than I do for my own self. So as an example, I'm filming obviously right now. And when I film, I got to bring my A game. Like, it takes some energy. And so I am going to get up. I'm going to try to get enough sleep. I'm going to get up. I'm going to take time to get ready, put on some nice clothes. Like, I feel really put together. I'm going to take the time. I always take the time to eat beforehand so that I'm not like getting really hungry. When I try to film when I'm really hungry, I start talking even faster because I'm like rushing to get through it so that I can eat. So I'm taking the time to do that. I'm making sure that I have water. So ideally I'm not looking parched and things like that. Like, I am just naturally taking care of myself because I know I need to show up with a lot of energy, and we need to do that, like bring that to our everyday life and show up in that way. So I think just eating regular meals is really important. Another thing that I think makes a huge difference, and there's a lot of people I have actually heard talking about this, is getting dressed, especially when you don't have to go out of the house. Like, maybe you work from home or your primary role is just managing the home, and you can easily perhaps stay in your pajamas or some really loungy clothes. I feel so much more put together, even if I'm not feeling well. Like if I have a cold, I'm just not feeling fantastic, or I did have a rough night of sleep, which, sometimes that's outside of our control. Then just getting ready, making sure I brushed my hair, put on a little bit of makeup, put on some decently nice clothes, because there's a lot of clothes that are very affordable, very comfortable, but I just look and feel more put together. And for me, it also includes shoes. Like, I am ready to go. Once I get shoes on, we are in work mode and ready to go. So just taking a little bit of time to get ready and feel good about yourself just puts you in a much better headspace. Also, I don't know, we've probably all done this, but like, when I have to, run an errand or drop the kids off at school and I haven't gotten ready and my hair's all a mess and I have no makeup on and I feel, I haven't even brushed my teeth, I am just not in the best headspace. And then I'm worried the whole time, what if we got in a wreck and somebody had to see me? Or what if for some odd reason this was the first time in history I needed to get out of the car at car rider line and everyone had to see me? It just causes, more worry. So it's ideal if we can take that time to get ready. Now, what I don't mean to say here is that you need to be ideally doing all of these things before you start your decluttering and home maintenance journey. Like, no, obviously you're already living in your house. You need to be doing these things all along. There's not like some point we're waiting for, but just make sure that you're also taking the time to do these kinds of basic self-care things. If you're anything like me, it can be a struggle to feel like doing some of these things is productive. One silly example is I sometimes am so anxious to get to work and get things done that I do not take a shower especially after my workouts at the gym. So I will come home and I'll be like, wow, it's already 10:30. I really need to be working. And I start working and then I never take a shower and I just feel icky. Like, I look icky, I feel icky, I am icky. And I'm like, I should have just taken 30 minutes to actually take care of myself. And so what we need to do is shift our mindset and realize that some of these things are productive. Like, getting enough sleep, that can eat into time. It takes 8 hours a night. But that is productive because it's going to make us show up better. It's going to help with everything else. And so we need to shift our mindset into thinking that it's not just about how many items did you declutter today or how many things did you tidy, but also about how did you take care of yourself. Now, once you have gotten your rest, eaten your meals, and gotten dressed, you're gonna wanna declutter. So I'm gonna link to my entire decluttering playlist below.